other boss people know the whole process of making it. So we got that, and we also got central currency. They've decided to make all those local currencies we were using, all those poker chips, all that stuff, that's all illegal, right? You can't use that anymore. Now what you have to do is borrow money from the central treasury at interest. So if anyone wants to buy shoes from you, you can't use your own money. The wealthy want to make money off that transaction. So the way they will is for me to have money, I've got to borrow money from the central treasury at interest, do my transactions, and then pay back more money than I borrowed. And that's a really weird ass idea. How do you pay back more than you borrowed? Where does the other money come from? The only way to get more is the economy has to grow. And that's why we talk about, to this day, that's why we talk about GDP and economic growth and all that. It's not so I can have the shoes I need and people can have the stuff they need. The economy has to grow because the operating system of the economy, this central currency, needs to be paid back with interest in order for it to work. That's
Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakodash, the one, I say apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings to the elect, pushing the word across the four corners of the earth, risking your life to do so. And on all these podcasts, on all these shows, what I notice is these people are going into topics that I've never heard Edomites reveal. I've never heard them touch upon certain information that they only kind of talked about in inward circles, behind the scenes. Make sure they keep Jake away from those conversations. But now those conversations are being made public in their attempt to try to expose their elites for, cheating them out of what they feel like is their blessing. Whether to say their children shall complain of an ungodly father. But you and your whole people have been completely ungodly. So why would they have a righteous rulership over you? Why would you thought they were going to have a righteous dominion over you? You thought that we were only going to do this unto them. No. That's unrighteousness breeds unrighteousness. Let's say evil men shall wax worse and worse. Right, to the point where you're going to be doing stuff to your brother. The scripture say, teach not thy wife an evil lesson. These Edomites, they'll have their wife be the man in a situation. All right, like Alizé. Yeah, it's and through the spirit they can feel their empire crashing down. This guy was going in. He was saying stuff that basically we've already said for years. But it's an Edomite, so now the information is legitimate. We're reading out of the scriptures, but some Edomites said it, so now everything falls in place. And oh my, such truth. People are respected of persons like that, but it's okay. The elect is going to see it at the end of the day. But I had just a couple of scriptures, because it's the vibration of them is just it's falling. Like I said, it was a time where everything was secret. If you was even in the books, like if you was in the books and stuff, like I was always in the books. You read, they used to say that how you want to hide something from a nigga, keep it in the book. And you read through certain books, certain info, but then what you found out was certain books, you had to have certain authorization to even be able to look at the book. All right, like I had checked in on the original documents for the Willie Lynch letters. I was trying to get to that because they said it was at the University of Missouri St. Louis when I was there, but they were saying that that's you have to have a certain access to get to the certain documents like that, and certain stuff they keep for themselves behind the scenes. Right, and ultimately it's the Lord that has revealed all these things to us that were hidden. And where they say, who have seen us? Yeah, we see you now. This is Proverbs 18 and 5. It says, it is not good to accept the person of the wicked to overthrow the righteous in judgment. Right? It is not good to accept the person of the wicked to overthrow the righteous in judgment. And see, everybody knows these people at the top are wicked. It was even said last election, this is we choosing the best of two evils. Right? We don't accept the persons of the wicked. We don't have to sit here and just let you completely destroy us for half a millennia and not be able to say anything. And when the Lord commanded us to say something, matter of fact, he said to speak daily. Right? He said the men of the Lord spoke daily to one another. I watch videos of all brothers, man. We watch these different videos and these different topics. All right, that's why you have to, scriptures talk about that, man. You have to, what does the scripture say? Oh, it talks about 7 investing in different things. I forget the scripture, but yeah, you have to cast your bread up on the waters. That's one of them, but it's another one. But basically, that's what you have to do, man. We go into all these different lessons, and then us as princes, we're starting to form these different layers, right? These different this wine has many notes to it. Right, this is a sweet smell, like a good cologne. It's got different oils in it. All right, we understand rulership, history, prophecy. It gives you the example of these kings, that kings, the time where the voice of the Lord was only heard through very few people. Shit, time of Elijah, where he thought he was the only prophet left, until it was revealed to him that no, there's more prophets on the scene. Right from the beginning, where the voice of the Lord was in the garden. It was men in the garden speaking certain things. But then you had that tree that you can't eat the fruit from. You had that man with that spewing the fruit of lies. Right? We don't have to accept the persons of the wicked. We know that you're wicked. This guy, Mr. Judge, sitting there online talking about he wants to do an investigation on us. And then came out in the video talking about he doesn't even believe in Esau. When Alexander the Greek has been traced back to Esau. Right? You Edomites, your favorite hero. who was a Mo. He was ubiquitous. All right, but this is what's about to happen. All right, the main point of me showing this, because he talks about a realm of things. Some things he goes off on. But basically, the thing that got me on the video, elites are planning a secret breakaway civilization. They asked my advice. And you really don't have to watch the video. He started talking about a bunch of other shit, and he started going into mushrooms and shit. Now, a lot of these Edomites are losing it. They're going into psychotropics and all kind of shit because it ain't what it was, and they know it ain't never gonna be what it was. All right, and that's a lot of people are losing their shit right now. All right, that's why we have to make sure that we're practicing temperance. All right, scripture talk about drunkenness. These people, this world, like as the spring is coming out, Jake is gonna party harder than they ever partied before because they're losing it. This is it to them. It's like, well, fuck it, YOLO. All right, but Proverbs 28:1. Yeah, the elites, the so-called elites, because they're the chosen wicked. All right, they're going to flee this place. Right? It says the wicked flee when no man pursueth. So they didn't fled, but the righteous are bold as a lion. So we don't have to flee this place. We know it's going to be destroyed. All right, but the faith is that we're going to be delivered. Do you believe? For the transgression of a land, many are the princes thereof. But by a man of understanding, Yeah, basically, it's in transgression. There are many princes. There are going to be many people who sit upon a throne. All right, many of the princes. That's why in this country, the rulers, they only serve for in certain positions. You only serve for 4 years, and then by the end of that tenure, or back to back 4 years, some positions you can continue to serve. But like the president, the head of office, you only get 2 terms. And then by the end of their term, they got so many crimes stacked up. They got so much controversy and backdoor deals that they've been through. Then, it's time for the next person. Or they'll get a second term, but like at the end of this second term, I don't know if Trump is gonna allow it to end, man, because they didn't expose everything pretty much. And they got a lot of statements where him and his family lied. Talking about they didn't know Epstein, but then they got a picture of Epstein with Melania because she's from that circle. you know, it's a mess, man. All right, for the transgression of a land, many are the princes thereof, but by a man of understanding and knowledge, the state thereof shall be prolonged. All right, so if the head is righteous, then that place is gonna be prolonged. And this place is not gonna be prolonged, and they know it. That's why they got to get the fuck out of here. It's another one if you read down in this chapter. That's why you have to review these. These are all the Proverbs, man. Psalms. It's good to read a chapter a day. Salaki. Yeah, verse 15, matter of fact, as a roaring lion and a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people. All right, that's what these people are, man, like a roaring fucking lion. Come out, I know up here, they're doing this bullshit with street policing and tickets. And do you have the new city sticker? Have you paid your taxes? Have you restored your license? Uh, uh, then they got the damn pay to park spots. You miss, you go 5 minutes over, the fucking people are right around the corner and shit. They got cameras everywhere. So even if they're not right there, the camera takes a picture of your vehicle, and then they can get you that way. Like a roaring fucking lion, getting you for small bullshit. I'm just trying to move around the city. Right, up here in Chicago, they closed all of the beaches down, and they charge you now to go to the beach, to go to the lake. It's not really. It's a lakefront. Some parts of it are beaches, but it's a lakefront. You can't even stand in front of the damn water and relax without peeing. A roaring lion. Meanwhile, these people have made all kind of millions and pocketed all kind of extras, lying and scamming and committing all kind of forgery and deception. Fraud, scriptures say. Right? The prince that wanteth understanding is also a great oppressor. That's what you see when you see their rulers. They're wanting. They don't have understanding. But he that hateth covetousness shall prolong his days. Right? And that's us. A man that doeth violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit. Right? Flee to destruction. Let no man stay him. Let nobody stop him. And that's what's going on now. They can feel that descent. Whereas once things were expanding, they were growing, they were developing, and well, we found, oh my gosh, we got this. Now it's like, shit, everything is crumbling. People are starting to lose trust for us. It's never been like this where it's just open disdain and disapproval for the government and all of the policies in place. Even I think it was Bush. He was in office. They were talking about in the media. They were like, don't you can't disagree with any policies put out. He actually told them that, and so they couldn't say anything about it. Now it's completely different. The internet, everything is wide open. People can give you a real-time perspective, and then us having the scriptures on top of that, we can filter everything through what the scriptures are saying and through prophecy to know, what's true and what's bullshit. Right? They flee to the pit. It says, whoso walk uprightly shall be saved, but he that is perverse in his ways shall fall at once. Yeah, all of your empire is falling. And all of your brothers and sisters from Europe and all these other places who they came over and got rich, and even of Eastern Europe, they distant cousins, who with weird, weird weird ass cousins. Like, cause you had like a split in Europe with the Great Schism. You had the parts of the it's just a cultural difference with those nations that are closer to the Islamic countries and over that way versus Western Europe. Those are the more wealthy countries where they were closer to the Mediterranean, had access to trade. So it's a different vibration. But like I said, even the Eastern Europeans were able to come over here and get a buck. All right, but they're all gonna fall at once. All right, it's time to flee. Job 20:24, he shall flee from the iron weapon. And we know you got bunkers. We know you got places. The scriptures give 3 places you're gonna flee to. You gotta go to one of the 3. Right, like they've been showing NASA, because it's the scriptures talk about waters up there. And you got parts of the firmament, the earth being out of the water, in the water. You got waters, but then sometimes when they show the NASA stuff, sometimes those locations are actually filmed underwater. Right? Sometimes it's green screen, CGI, and the CGI is so good now you really can't tell, but we know there's bounds that they cannot pass. All right, but they're gonna flee when destruction comes. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. No matter where you flee, right, which the scriptures talk about that certain of you might get away temporarily, but then you're gonna be rounded up. Right, whether they flee into the heavens, they dig in the hell, right? Your underground bunkers, your space stations, that are in lower Earth orbit, right, or even underwater. They said Leviathan is gonna fuck you up. You're gonna be found. Right, like when it says Cain, that's what Cain did. He fled, killed his brother, and tried to flee. Right, Genesis 4, and that's the spirit of Esau. He's the fugitive, the vagabond. Right? Was it the not the piercing serpent, that word there for piercing, Isaiah 27:1 talks about that piercing serpent. It's talking about Esau. Isn't it? The fugitive, fleeing, which they did pierce the Lord. But it's also synonymous with being a fugitive, because that's what a fugitive does. They stab somebody and run. There were no guns, back here. Genesis 4:14, that's what happened. Cain, he pierced his brother and ran. Behold, thou hast driven me out from this day from the face of the earth, and thou from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So he was marked with that with leprosy. Right, to this day. Wasted away is he. It says, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And when you look it up, there is no land of Nod. All right, that word there, Nawad, is wandering. There's no land of Nod. Vagrancy. All right, wandering of aimless fugitive, exile, as it has wandered somewhere. All right, that's you guys though, fleeing and wandering. You done fucked everything up for everybody else. The scriptures say that before destruction, it is as the Garden of Eden. This place was plentiful, but it was not meant to be the final habitation for so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Latinos. All right, and that's what you have to come to acceptance with. You're not getting your land back from Esau. Esau's going to be destroyed. Babylon's going to be destroyed. A large amount of Esau is going to be destroyed. All right, then the ones who remain are going to be rounded up. And it's on us to try to push for us to be of the elect and make our calling, of election sure. Our calling and election sure. All right, but Lord willing is edifying. See, we don't have to actually physically see you. Right, because the scriptures talks about what you're going to do. What is it? How does he know what spoken about in the king's bedchamber? Yeah, we know because the Lord told us. All right, but Lord willing is edifying. Shalom to the elect. Continue to read. Continue to pray. Continue to fast. Stay in the spirit. And whatever happens, endure. Shalom.